Test. All right, so I can turn mine up a little bit. Test. And now I got to figure out when they're going to turn their mixer on. It looks like they haven't turned on their microphones yet. Yeah, I'll keep it at 1080p 60. I'm recording a copy of this. This is going to have a copy of it recorded. So I'll be able to adjust things later. And it'll be a nice high bitrate copy. Man, you guys think Spectrum sucks? My cell phone tethering, 1.5 megabit, no go. 1 megabit, it'll let me stream. 1 megabit. Oh, that is something else. Crimes against technology. You call this 4G, Verizon? You call this LTE? Erica, say hi.
Hey. Hello.
Erica has been my union camera woman.
You know what I found out? I found out on YouTube that, I'm not going to say it over here. Look at this. I'm getting this comment over and over and over.
Erica has found the world of YouTube comments, which I have a delete button for, and she doesn't. Life is not fair. Anyway. Let's make sure all my stuff is on this side.
By the way, in the event that this is a little crooked, just know I'm going to try my best, you guys. So if anything messes up while if Lewis decides to speak, I won't really be able to fix it. By the way, you want to know something cute? So we have, if you remember from the stream from yesterday.
This is main channel. They have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh.
We just talk about hearings here. Someone says free Hong Kong.
It's not even starting. Hey.
I have no idea. I just came up here.
Ooh, more people are coming. Good.
I'm going to zoom in on Grandma.
How do you zoom? Oh.
Here comes Grandma.
She's like.
Water delivery.
Jessa, how are you? Good. Jessa, how are you?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me just lively? Whoa, get that out of my face. I know I came in the general hooker entrance. However, that does not mean. Do you know this guy here is Dan? Remember iFixit Answers? You used to fight him a lot. Maybe you guys could throw down. Huh?
This is
Dan from iFixit Answers. Remember all the fights you used to get into back in the old days? Before
I remember. All the
Yeah,
ink.
I'm gonna go grab some water.
So you don't meet DMJ.
Dan. Yes.
I'm the lobster guy.
Lobster. See, I remember people by picture.
Yeah, this is ZZZ. Isn't that what your name is?
ZZZ.
That was his alias, one of his aliases.
I think I changed it to ZZZ.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Yeah.
I gave up after a while and opened my own forum. And then I started charging people $29 a month for it.
Well, you were
I think I was mostly trolling.
You were trolling? Oh, you're going to record me now?
So what are you doing here?
I'm here to get our ass in gear. Get the fixing of computers in an open market again.
Do you think it'll work?
I hope so. I hope we get there. It's going to take a while.
Just adjust the sensitivity on
Oh, am I too loud?
No, too low.
Too loud.
I know, I never expected from
Oh, you got me on the camera too, I see. Ah.
You are invaded.
I charge 10 cents for every second.
Where are you traveling from?
I live here in Boston. That's why you saw, that's what the lobster represents.
The lobster represents Boston?
Yeah, in my icon.
Interesting.
So,
Nobody knows if I'm allowed to be up here, so I just figured.
don't worry. I don't think they'll kick you out if it's an issue.
No, what I thought is if you look like press, they'll assume you're press. And one thing I noticed is that the people that are here from CBS appear to be worse dressed than I.
Where are they?
So, that good. And that good. That's
Over there? Oh, yeah. Oh, those are the cameramen, though.
That's audio guy, and to the left is camera guy. So, yeah, RBS.
Get in line for a presentation?
I don't know.
You should.
I think I will. Let's see. Uh-oh. Erica, can you... Straight? Straight? Yeah? I suck at getting straight video. I'm useless for this. Someone said free Hong Kong. I agree.
Place yet? Did you find a place yet?
No, I am in negotiations with one final place. Due to the amount of work, I asked for 6 free months. If they don't get it, then I'll leave. I'll actually know back by later today.
Okay.
The guy who owns the building apparently is in Afghanistan. He has a trading company.
Of course he's over there.
Yes.
So, are you still running your bicycle, your electric bicycle around?
Yes. At this 19 miles an hour.
Come on. 19? You can't get 30 out of it?
I am in a legal. I'm in a state house.
You gonna say again?
What is the law in Boston for that?
For electric bicycles?
Yes. Is it as restrictive? In New York, it's 20 miles an hour, 750 watts or less, and no throttle.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think you can go any speed you want because I don't think there is any regulation yet.
That's interesting in Massachusetts. I would not imagine there to be no regulation on it.
Well, maybe the city of Boston might. You want me to hold that? Okay.
I don't have another mic, so that'll have to do.
Yeah.
So the thing is, everybody has to obey the law unless you're a delivery person, in which case you're allowed to break them all because you deliver food. So in New York, they go the wrong way down the street. They
I
go
used
over
to
20
live
miles
there.
an hour.
It was Brooklyn Heights.
That doesn't sound like fun.
Well, it was back then. I was a kid.
When it was affordable.
That was back in the 60s.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that it was affordable.
It was affordable, and it was, there wasn't any drugs or any violence like it is today. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's gotten better.
It's depending on the area, better or worse.
Yeah, because it ebbs and flows. Every area does that. As the transition of people changes, then there's strife, and then after a strife, then it cools down, and then it happens again.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Why'd you leave?
My family left. I was only a little tight back then.
I'm leaning on an electrical panel.
Yeah, don't get zapped.
Erica, you're also leaning on an electrical panel.
Oh, she won't be hurt.
What if
It's
the
covered.
electrical wiring is as bad as it is in that shithole 30th Street store, and we're leaning on it? What if instead of this being ground, this is hot? You know what? You chose the worst seat, girl. The worst. Also, just to make sure this doesn't fall in. This little piece of crap has to stay around. Make sure that it doesn't fall. Even if it falls, it has to be plugged in. I have a second audio thing in case mine screws up.
So what is your lady friend's name?
Erica.
Erica.
Meet Dan.
How do you do? Japanese.
No, I'm Chinese Korean.
Chinese Korean. Okay. Well, it's the way you did the wave there. It's sort of because that's how a lot of the Japanese. Well, when you've been there a while, So, ni hao. I used to know more. I traveled a lot in China many years ago. So, do you spend any time? Have you been back to China at all?
I've
or-
only been
or
there
cru-
when I was. Oh.
I'll be the microphone.
No, I get. Last time I was there when I was 8 years old.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a little while ago.
97 or so.
Did you get back to Korea at all?
No, I have never been to Korea. I went to Japan though about 2 years ago. It was really fun.
That's cool. Did you go up into the hills?
No, I just went to the city because I'm such a city girl.
Oh, okay. So you stayed in Tokyo.
And I was going to those UFO catcher machine games.
Well, Tokyo's beautiful too. It's been a while since I've been there. Let's see, what do I got here? I got something for you. I got something.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm fine. Glad you made. I had no idea you were coming.
I forgot that this was here. Somebody emailed me to remind me, I think yesterday.
Somebody emailed you. It might have been Jessa.
No.
No? Nathan? Paul Roberts?
Some random person from YouTube.
Some random person. Oh, probably
My
Kyle.
email address is public.
No, it wasn't Kyle. Huh? More random than that. Oh, this is fun. Okay. Good.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, what am I introducing myself to?
On YouTube since last time.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Yes.
CBS camera.
Oh, the CBS camera too. Excellent. Well, it's been how long since the last time we testified? 2 years. 2 years, yes. And Nebraska, yeah. Oh, God, Orman Chambers, who can forget? Yes, okay, you want to know who I am? Yes. Your shoulder is killing you. Is this too close? I don't know.
You're like this
That
one.
works? Okay. All right. So I guess I'm now famous on YouTube? Yes. Excellent.
This is Shanghai.
Excellent. Yes, Gay Gordon Byrne. I'm the executive director of the Repair Association and a huge Louis Rossmann fan. I can't believe what I can learn by watching you.
One of those two things was true. Erica, people are showing up. Center. You're my centerer.
Okay.
Your job is to return this to center after I fuck it up.
Ooh, I see.
It's Bridge.
Wow. You know, it's amazing how long those structures can last.
Oh, yeah.
Like stone.
Let's see, we got something else here. Oh, that's Korea.
Who's the sexy cougar? Oh, man, that is so awesome. Are they currently in an insane asylum that wrote this?
Wow.
Oh, very cool.
Is that like a rice paddy?
No, just, yes, this is rice patties and also vegetable gardens.
When was the last time you went to China or Korea? What's the last time you went to China or Korea?
This is back in '92. It's a while ago.
Wow.
And this is it's called a tuk tuk, and that's you may have heard of Moon Hill.
No, I never heard about that.
It's a very famous place. This is big.
You're very well traveled.
Too much travel.
Too much travel.
I was working for IBM at the time, and they fly me all over the Pell's creation. That's Guilin.
Wow. That's so serene.
What do the home appliance people say? And what do they have to do with any of this for those who are confused?
For those that are confused, if it's got a chip and you can't fix it, they don't want you to fix it because you might tear your arm off. You literally might tear your arm off in a washing machine if you didn't fix it correctly. So therefore, nobody should fix their stuff. You might also explode your microwave oven, as you remember that.
What was it? Magtrometer?
Yeah, the magnetron. The magnetron.
Gay, as the executive director of the Repair.org, how do you feel about the fact that Lewis's chat just called you a sexy cougar?
Actually, 6 people just called her a sexy cougar at this point by my count.
I'm like really liking it.
What is your screen name on Tinder?
My
Gay Gordon Byrne, sexy cougar. Hashtag sexy cougar.
/ grandma.
Lewis, you need to go fill out a slip to testify.
Where's the slip?
Right
you
out
gonna
front.
testify?
Yeah, he's going to testify.
You get me slip?
God bless America. God bless America. You're going to testify too, right?
She's my assistant. And can you get a pen as well?
You already filled out your slip.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
What can I?
Ken McCarthy. I'm just here to.
Oh, good to meet you.
Yeah. Wait, no.
By the camera.
He doesn't want to be on
His
camera.
office. I don't need anything on the tape. It's good seeing you. How you doing on your search for your office?
So last time was 3 years ago, I think.
It's all the blur.
I'm amazed it's named this long. I figured it would have been done by now.
You know, it almost got done a couple of times.
Yes.
It almost got done. It's way closer than the opposition would like to think.
Well, good meeting you anyway.
I didn't know you had any office right there on Park Street.
We don't.
What was the big sign that says right there?
That guy works in the Attorney General's office, and he watches my videos.
Oh, cool.
So if I ride, I think we're cleared to ride Bafang in Boston.
Oh, gosh. Don't push your luck now. Don't push your luck.
I don't have a pen.
Get him a pen.
Do you have a pen, Erica? I'm sorry, we're under 40. Who has a pen? God bless you. CBS has a pen. All right. CBS comes prepared. Everybody in the chat, thanks CBS for bringing a pen. Real hero of today. Bill, you are testifying on. What is the number of the bill I'm testifying on, Jessa?
That would be support.
I am
The bill number, I'll fill that up. Some HB something.
You have signage?
support Lewis.
Go do it.
My handwriting is
Have you been
garbage.
working on your handwriting?
No.
Like, half issues. Rossman Broadcasting?
Rossman Broadcast. That's what I told the other lady.
The RBC?
No, not her. Not the security lady. The lady the security lady was talking to.
Cross it out to RBC.
RBC?
Yeah. Like ABC, NBC, RBC.
Contact information. Should I put like Friskomatics next to it, like my email address?
No.
This is
Not part of
really,
it. Put N.
this is really uncomfortable.
Maybe it would help if you were wearing a tie.
GTFO. Would you like to plug into my UPS?
Hmm?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit here like a, so it's less. Erica, see that? That's a ThinkPad. Real broadcasters, ThinkPad.
I'm going to look really carefully and see if I see any MacBooks. Oh, I see one MacBook. Look, there's a woman down there who has a MacBook. Look at that. She has a MacBook right there. You see her? Might be blocking her right there. She has a MacBook. No wonder why she's over here. Her MacBook probably needs to get fixed soon. I see one MacBook. I see a few ThinkPads. And yeah. We don't know when it's going to start.
Yes, I have a pen.
Oh, people are answering the call for pen. That CBS camera guy had some really.
CBS guy has a portable audio mixer separate from the. Oh. I have him forging my signature on that thing now. Okay. So I'm good.
I have a question for you. Yes. Turn around. Louis Rossman, will you feel humiliated if my iPhone 10 video is better than this whole shebang?
Whose audio are you using in this video?
I'll be using the audio kindly provided by the Massachusetts State House, plus a buddy.
I have administrative access to your YouTube channel. Let's see if your iPhone 10 video is better than Erica, my camera woman. If you're suggesting that I break up lack of battery,
Only 10% charged.
you have a lightning cable. Would you like to plug in?
I just charged up my charger.
ThinkPad?
Yeah, man, look at me.
Even Jess is getting with the program now. You're the only one left with a Mac, Erica.
I love this.
I have to see if they turn their mics on yet. Actually, I should ask this. One sec. I gotta monitor and see if they turn their mics on.
So when they call you, go up and say something. And you can even type it out and send it to them later.
I need to see. All right, so their mixer is still. I imagine it's going to be like Albany, where they turn it on once the conference starts. Huh?
A lot of people have signs such as like "Don't take my rights away," hashtag Apple, hashtag right to repair. I own mine.
I'm never going to be found holding a sign. I don't want to hold a sign.
Oh no, you don't have to hold a sign. No, I'm just saying there's people in the audience holding signs. By the way, I'm going to be back in a few. It's a 3-hour stream, so I'm going to go to the restroom.
Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Can you leave whenever you want, or no?
What do you mean?
Like you're not stranded here until they've finished, right?
Unless security says I am.
No, just in general. I don't know how these things go.
I have no idea.
No. How you been?
All right.
Good.
See if that guy has no water. Thank you. What do you do?
I'm down in Bona. I'm not in Somerville. I do cell phone.
Somerville? That's supposed to be the part of Massachusetts that's close to Cambridge but costs 1/5 the price. Is that, am I correct?
No.
But that's Boston's Brooklyn. Yeah, because I've seen Cambridge pricing and it makes me sick, similar to Manhattan price.
That is true. How long are you guys in the conference? Are you going back to New York?
Yeah, most likely tonight or tomorrow morning. I haven't even booked my return flight yet. Time, I'll go. Also, if I'm not too sick. Huh? I was gonna rest because I was like starting to feel kind of droozy, and then I forgot that I was supposed to come here, so I flew here. And then I went to an airport where sick people go to get sicker.
I went to Jess's class.
When did you go to Jess's class?
I think it was like 3 years or so. Yeah, I can come closer.
Yeah.
I think like 2-3 years ago. When I think iPhone 7 was around, or something like that. And I've learned a lot of interesting things. The problem is that if you don't keep it up.
Yeah. If you're not doing it every day, it goes away.
And now I'm trying to get better at it, and I'm trying to. This is my first time, even though I've been here for like 12 years. I've never came up here in the city hall. You gonna testify?
I believe so.
They're gonna pick me to testify. I'll probably my spiel.
It's more important to me that I record what the opposition says than I actually say anything, because I've made my argument a million times.
Of course. especially even though you, like when you testified in the lawsuit
In the
Sweden or something.
yeah. Like I've said my spiel a million times. I want people here to hear what the other side is, and I want them to hear what they have to say.
Something that's not actually accurate. They're trying to say that what we're doing is bad. Like we're tinkering with something that we can not even.
All right, sure.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Joint Committee on Consumer Protection Professional Licensure. My name is Taki Chan. I'm the House Chairman. To my left is Senator Paul Feeney, the Senate Chairman. And want to bring a few things to your attention as a housekeeping matter. We do have your sign-up sheets. Anyone who has not signed up, please sign up at the front, and they'll deliver to the end here and put it on the computer screens behind us. We do not have a computer screen behind us, so we do not get to see your names. But everyone is on a 3-minute clock to testify. If you have a panel, it's 3 minutes each. You can see the clocks on both sides. And we have an annoying buzzer I don't want to hear. We found out last time. Jumped out of my skin when I heard it. So be mindful of the clock. Also let you know there are recording devices, as you can see right here, as well as around you. We do permit social media, texting, Facebook Live, media to be here. So if you're going to come say something or do something in the audience, be mindful that you are being watched as much as we are. So if someone has a question what you did, they direct it towards you, not me. What else is here? We are joined by a number of members in no particular order. To my right is Representative McKenna, Representative LeBoeuf, Representative Livingston is the vice chair. To my left is Representative Driscoll, Representative Dahm, and that's all for now. As you may know, there's a lot of other public hearings and meetings going on. Members will be coming and going throughout the course of the hearing. We're going to start this day off by opening an executive session to move through a few bills. So I need a motion to open executive session. So moved by Representative Livingston, second by Representative McKenna. The executive session is now open. The committee and your staff had received an advance notice of the executive session bills, and we're going to go through them very quickly at any discussion. House Bill 2000, an act relative to licensure of swimming pool builders and service contractors. Chairs are recommending it be passed as redrafted. So moved by Representative Livingston, second by Representative Dahm. Any discussion on this matter? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those say nay, nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 295, Representative McMurtry and Rush, an act authorizing the town of Dedham to grant one additional license for sale of beer and wine to be drunk on premise. I need a motion? Motion by Representative Livingston, second by Representative Dahm. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 3991, Representative Day, an act amending certain liquor licenses in the town of Winchester. The chairs are recommending ought to pass. I need a motion to do so. Representative Livingston moves. Representative Driscoll seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill 3993, Representative Murray, an act authorizing the town of Milford to grant one additional liquor license for the sale of malt and wine beverages to be drunk on premise. Chair recommends ought to pass. I need a motion. Motion by Representative Livingston, second by Representative Dahm. All those in favor, any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those say nay. The ayes carry. House Bill 4078, Representative Campbell, an act authorizing the granting of additional licenses for the sale of alcohol not be drunk on premise in the city of Methuen. Chairs recommending ought to pass. I need a motion.
I so move.
Motion by Representative Livingston, second by Representative Dahm. Any discussion? There being none, all those say aye.
Aye.
To say nay, the ayes carry. Senate Bill 1288, Representative Humiston, an act authorizing the city of Hampton to grant 8 additional liquor licenses for the sale on premise, 4 licenses for malt and wine on premise, 1 additional license for sale of water wine for not on premise. I need a motion.
I so move.
Motion by Representative Livingston, second by Representative Dahm. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. The ayes carry. A motion customary to the committee practice executive session. We're going to keep the poll open on these bills for members coming and going to vote during the course of the session, and the executive committee will reopen. So I need a motion to put executive committee into recess. Representative Driscoll. Motion's reset, second by Representative McKenna. The executive session is now in recess. At this point, we're going to open the public hearing. We are hearing basically three bills, House Bill 4078, House Bill, Senate Bill 17107, House Bill 218. Just for sake of housekeeping, is anybody here on House Bill 4078? It's a home petition regarding Methuen. All right, we can skip that. We're going to go straight to Senate Bill 107 and House Bill 218, its companion. First up on the list is Arthur Tori from the Spano Association Artists Asylum. You know the microphone is on because you can see the red light come on in front of you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate this chance to come before the committee today to speak about digital record repair bill. My name is Arthur Tori. I live in Burlington, Mass. I've been transporting here for about 9 years. And I'm here to support the record repair. And there are a lot of people who will talk about various reasons why record repair is good. It takes me a lot on line electronics. Because I mean, maybe that looks better. Should I start over? Okay. My name is Arthur Tori. I'm a resident of Billerica, and I'm vice chair of the Billerica Disability Commission. I'm also a member of the United Spinal Association and a member of the Artisans Asylum Makerspace in Somerville, where I spend a great deal of my time working on fixing and doing various things related to equipment of different sorts, especially mobility related. And I'm here to strongly support the right to repair because that is something that has saved me a great deal of energy and let me have better equipment than I might otherwise be willing to afford in terms of general electronics. And I would like to urge the committee to consider expanding this bill slightly to encompass consumer-owned medical devices or adaptive equipment such as this power chair. Right now, if my power chair breaks, I'm stuck at home for probably 6 to 8 weeks while dealing with insurance and medical equipment dealers, unless I'm able to repair it myself, in which case I can order parts off eBay and have them the next day. And so being able to repair my equipment preserves my mobility, and I need to have access to the software. I'm running stuff that's 20 years old because I can get, without manufacturer authorization, the software that I need to be able to reprogram the electronic modules. To get something that's more modern, I would have to buy, only they won't sell it to me, a $700 dongle in order to use the software that, again, I can obtain readily without manufacturer authorization, but that I could program my own chair to make it fit my needs and my abilities, which is going to be different from what other people with different handicaps would have. So this is a very much of an ability to be able to customize things to make them work. And I find it ironic that I can go down to the auto parts store and buy whatever I want to turn my minivan into a fire-breathing monster without necessarily even being qualified to fix my brakes. But I can't fix my 4-mile-an-hour power chair myself because, oh, you might hurt yourself. I have never run into such condensation as I find from the mobility equipment industry. And this is something which I would like to be able to have the right to repair my own equipment more than what I'm already doing without anybody's permission, because it would make my life a whole lot easier and let me use more modern things. For that, I would like to thank you. I do have written testimony. Where would I hand that over?
Thank you. The court officer will take your written testimony. Thank you, Mr. Tori. Any questions to Mr. Tori? There being none, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Sarah Faye Pierce, Director of Government Affairs for the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers, along with Tim Johnson, Lisa McCabe, Priscilla Oliveira.
insurance lady. This is the one that said that a spectrometer is dangerous in Nebraska. Remember the lady from 2 years ago that said a spectrometer is dangerous and a microwaving could kill you?
Okay, good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Sarah Faye Pierce. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers. We represent major appliances, portables, floor care.
This will be
so
painful.
Anything from your refrigerator to your Roomba vacuum to your Ninja blender and electric toothbrush and pretty much everything in between. We're here today in strong opposition to both the House Bill 218 and the Senate Bill 107. Really, and you're going to hear much about this from other witnesses as well, this bill is really a solution in search of a problem. Number one, a lot of the critics that we hear, or the proponents of this bill, say there's not access and there's not opportunity, and that couldn't be further from the truth. A survey of our members this year shows incredible and broad availability for repair. In fact, we have 19,000 repair options available across this country. That does not include Canada. We have more than 80% of those are independent, affiliated, who are certified to repair the brands that I represent. 90% of that 80% are the smallest of the small businesses across this country, between 1 and 10 employees. So we are really truly providing a pipeline for these small businesses to flourish in their communities. 20 states, as I'm sure you're well aware, have examined this issue this year. None have taken action because they agree this is a solution in search of a problem. Consumers have choice today. Once you purchase a home appliance, the position of AHAM is that you have the right to choose however you want to repair that product, whether it's by yourself or to seek some other independent, whether it's not affiliated or affiliated with our brands and our manufacturers. That does not mean that we support the fact that anybody has a right, if you have a business license, to get access to the intellectual property of those brands who are offering those products for sale. We have a number of concerns with regard to this legislation, safety being one, the top. First and foremost, anyone who comes into the home to repair those appliances that have broken down or who need a replacement parts must be vetted. They must go through proper background checks and certain security screenings to make sure that not only they're capable of repairing that product that has been broken or is in disrepair, but they also have, there's security and there's a confidence that that homeowner has when those individuals are entering the home. As I've said, technicians are required to have multiple certifications if that independent business is affiliated with our OEMs and our brands. And wow, that was worse than my alarm this morning. Let me just run through these very quickly and then I'll wrap up and hand over to my colleagues. State certifications for handling electricity and gas. EPA 608 certification, which requires a special certification to handle refrigerant gases. This is incredibly important currently, as right now we're in this massive shift of, I feel like I just lost my mic, massive shift away from these high global warming potential gases into less impacting gases. I'm not sure what happened to my mic.
We did kind of losing the mic here, but can you just pass the list on to the person next to you? we can read it from there, so we can move the testimony along,
sure.
please. Because I can see the list from up here. We don't like people reading too much.
Oh, sure. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but all I'm saying is that these certifications must be maintained, again, to ensure that these are safely repaired products. Thank you. Do you want us to go in order?
Okay, good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, and other members of the committee. My name is Priscila Oliveira, and I'm the state policy analyst for AHRI, the Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this testimony today. So AHI represents more than 300 manufacturers of air conditioning, heating, water heating, and commercial refrigeration equipment. It's internationally recognized advocate for the HVAC industry and certifies the performance of many of the products manufactured by its members. HRI respectfully opposes House Bill 218 as its mandate that original equipment manufacturers, OEMs, make available to independent repair providers any part, tool, service manual, software, or information for the purposes of diagnosing or repairing digital electronic equipment made by the OEM. AHI represents companies dedicated to manufacturing and installing highly effective and efficient heating, cooling, water heating equipment, and also commercial refrigeration systems for the health, safety, comfort, and productivity of the residents of Massachusetts. However, the equipment our members manufacture and install is complex and requires highly skilled professionals to service and install it. One of the primary reasons HR believes it's critical the HVAC equipment only be repaired or maintained by licensed professionals is to protect the environment. If not properly installed, maintained, or repaired, HVAC equipment, including cutting-edge, energy-efficient technologies, will not provide important energy savings benefits and will undermine energy efficiency initiatives. In addition to these concerns, equipment warranties could potentially be nullified if service were conducted by an unqualified contractor. A manufacturer's warranty is critical for consumer protection and confidence in the equipment they are purchasing. HR respects the intent of this legislation, but to avoid these unintended consequences, we believe it's necessary to narrow the definition of digital electronic equipment and amend the bill's language to include an exemption for the HVAC equipment. That's all I have, and thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, chairs and members of the committee. My name is Lisa McCabe, and I'm with CTIA, the Trade Association for the Wireless Industry. Our members include wireless service providers, infrastructure providers, suppliers, and manufacturers. And we are here in opposition to this bill. As was mentioned, there is a process by which consumers have a number of ways in which they can get their products today repaired. Having legislation that mandates the giving away number of different types of information that could be proprietary, could actually even have some legal ramifications, and also could be dangerous because the security of devices, if all of a how-to book is given out there on how to work on every bit of electronics, there are dangers to something that could be working on a network, and also dangers to consumers' privacy of their information. I think this bill, both these bills have no assurance for the consumers. It just provides saying, give out this information, and that's that. There's a provision in there that talks about how the independent repairers, if they don't like the information that they've received from a manufacturer, that they have recourse. But there's no recourse in here for the consumer. And I think having authorized repair, people who know exactly what they're doing in order to repair an electronics, who've gone through training, who have gone through a knowledge base in order to to repair things sufficiently, safely, and securely is very important. Today, consumers can use independent repair if they choose to. They can use authorized repair. There are many opportunities already there, and this is really looking at an issue that is already being addressed by the marketplace and by consumer demand. Thank you.
Chair Chan, Chair Feeney, members of the committee, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Timothy Johnson with the Entertainment Software Association. ESA is the trade association representing companies that publish computer and video games for an assortment of consumer devices, including video game consoles. The three major console manufacturers, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, are members of ESA. It is important to note at the onset that the three major video game console makers are committed to providing consumers with repairs that are quick, reliable, and safe. They offer a variety of options if a console needs to be repaired. Indeed, they all offer repair services beyond the warranty period to ensure that their consoles remain in good working order, because their respective platform's success depends on providing a reliable, versatile, and engaging platform on which to play video games and to enjoy the digital content. We believe that a right to repair mandate would cause severe harm to the video game industry because of the risk it would pose to game publishers that rely upon the secure media environment of the game console to safeguard their works against sophisticated content theft, also known as piracy. To help prevent piracy, video game software and hardware have security features built into them known as technological protection measures, TPMs. Digital locks also, to prevent the play of unauthorized video game content. Briefly, the video game console's firmware runs a verification check on the video game to confirm that it is a legitimate copy. If it is, the console will play the game. If not, the console will not play the game. The firmware itself is also encrypted to discourage unauthorized modifications of the system. These access controls protect not only the integrity of the console's firmware, but also the video games that run on the consoles. These digital locks help to create, again, a secure media platform, granting independent repair shops not authorized by video game console manufacturers the tools and know-how to modify the firmware exposes the console's security features to potential tampering, including disabling or removing the digital locks. We believe that sharing sensitive diagnostic information, tools, and security-related reset codes with unvetted third parties would compromise the security of the entire platform and harm both console makers and game publishers. Once a console is modified to disable its digital locks, any number of illegally copied games could be played on it. Recognizing that digital locks are entirely necessary and directly related to combating piracy, the U.S. Copyright Office, the leading authority in the country on copyright matters, said as recently as October 2018, that there is no evidence to support the conclusion of consoles under a general right to repair rule. It is also important to note that in this context, the DMCA makes it illegal to traffic in tools that can pick the digital locks. So any state effort to somehow make unlocking tools available to independent repair shops in order to fix consoles would be at odds with federal law. In closing, the viability and success of the video game console business is dependent upon a trustworthy and secure platform. If that platform is compromised, which we think it might be if right to repair is enacted, thus forcing console makers to open up their firmware, it could hurt game publishers and console makers. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions from members of the committee? Senator Feeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the panel for testifying today. I appreciate your testimony on this. Just a couple of things I made note of when you were talking about, I think you had mentioned it originally in the beginning part of the testimony. Many of your members of the association, each of the associations, I believe, mentioned authorized repair, certified repair. Those are currently independent shops. They're just certified through the manufacturer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So how it works is, as I had said, the 19,000 repair options in America that are available, 80% are independent affiliated, which means that they have certified with the brand to go through their process and to fully understand all the systems that go into the different products that those OEMs and those brands manufacture. So that other 20% and some change are actual in-network or in-house repairs. So brands like Sub-Zero or Miele, for example, would have their own network. So there is a mix of two, but in large, 80% are independent yet affiliated.
Okay. And with those certified repair shops or authorized repair personnel, what do they get differently than, say, if Senator Feeney if I signed, had Paul's repair shop, what would I not have access to that a certified repair person would?
Well, certainly, and let me, if I could just refer back to that list that I was going through as I beeped out. It's like I just hid my notes on myself. So the certifications are important, and a lot of it has to do with safety. So first and foremost, any state certifications to handle products that are using electricity and gas. EPA, there's a 608, it's a regulation certification to handle refrigerant gases. And what I was saying is right now, the industry, any product that has refrigerant gases in this very large transition away from those high global warming potential gases into lower global warming gases. And so if you're not trained and certified to understand which gas, because there's a lot of different types of gases go into which product, you have a combustible event opportunity that could happen if there was an improper repair done there. Background checks, and then certainly any local service or company requirements would be required.
So if I had an independent shop, that's what I would produce to the manufacturer, to the company, to say, these are my certifications. But then on the other side, what would I get in return for that? So would I have to sign an exclusivity contract where I only work on that particular manufacturer? Do I have, kind of broad base? Can I work with other manufacturers?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
would
you
you give me tools and parts that the public doesn't have?
You certainly have access to different updates, to different schematics that would be very inherent to whatever that product is, specific to that product, right? And so the parts issue is a little bit different because there is a pretty broad availability of parts currently on the market. A lot of my members will tell me, and I would have to admit this is anecdotal, so we'll take it for what it is, but a lot of the parts, and again, I'll just harken back to the refrigerant gases, for example, a lot of parts that would have a safety imperative to it or could cause some type of event in the home, again, for safety, would not be made publicly available.
Okay. And I just have two more, Mr. Chairman, if I could quickly. I'm starting to, I guess as we look at the bill and kind of look at the details and receive testimony, of which we've received a lot as a committee over the last few months, through email and things like that, there is a difference, right, between an HVAC component, say a furnace in somebody's home, and their toothbrush, as
Sure.
you brought up, or a
Sure.
coffee maker, right? I mean, I would think that there'd be less of a safety component if somebody wants to repair, their coffee maker in their home, correct?
Certainly, and I'm going to guess that not a whole lot of folks call out for coffee maker repair in their home, but I would say it's a refrigerator, or washer, dryer, dishwasher, some of the larger appliances in the home. A lot of these appliances are certified to organizations like UL, CSA, ASHRAE, and the like, which have safety standards that are recognized, for example, by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. And these are safety standards that, again, ensure the safe operation and the integrity of that product. And I often use the latch on your washer as an example. And so there's a safety latch that clicks into function when that washing machine is in that high spin part of the washing process. And if you are not properly trained and certified as a technician, so again, affiliated to that brand, you may not know that that's a safety standard, and you're performing a repair and you can trip that because it is wired into the firmware of that product. And so we're talking about very serious issues at play. If you have children in the home, children are fascinated by lifting that lid and watching that washer go round and round and round, right? And you don't want that child to be able to manipulate that product at that time. And so these are real considerations that we take very seriously, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate the clarification. Sure. And then one other thing that jumped out at me in speaking about the video game consoles, and I'm very sensitive to proprietary information. We've talked a lot in this committee about patent trolls and all sorts of, trade secrets. There are two sections of this bill that I wanted to read through again when you were testifying, saying that nothing in this chapter shall be construed to require a manufacturer to divulge a trade secret. And then it looks like the next section as well. It's strictly access to diagnostic and repair information. So is that something that if we were to kind of work through another iteration of this bill, is that sufficient to address the issues that you were talking about on trade secrets, or is this something that we should be adding to it? Or
in working on this issue for the past couple of years and working in a number of different states on this bill and bills like this, I'm just unsure how you would amend a bill to take that into account. For us, for consoles, when we discuss the firmware, it is so interconnected inside the device, the firmware, the technological protection measures, authorizing legal games, not playing illegal games. All those are so connected. I don't know how one would be able to separate that out
know what that is.
technologically, and I don't know how you would necessarily do that in this bill. Just anecdotally, I'm unsure how you would amend it to get it to work.
Okay, thank you.
He legit has no idea what that is.
Representative Dom.
Thank you. How one becomes an authorized repair person, if there's a fee involved, education, schooling, that kind of thing.
I can't say specifically. I mean, it's going to be a brand by brand determination, but there is certainly a process that is gone through, and I would just have to follow up with you on that. I don't have that specific information in front of me.
I would appreciate if you could follow up.
Yep.
You had mentioned that it was 80% of the 19,000, which are about 15,200 people, are independent. And you also talked a little bit earlier, and I may be conflating the two, that one of the advantages of the current system was that the companies sort of do security checks on the repair people before they come into people's homes to repair. Do the companies check the 15,200 authorized repair people as well?
So the overall, the OEM or the brand wouldn't be the one doing the check. That independent business that wishes to affiliate. So the requirements would be background checks, certifications that the OEM or the brand would require.
So each of the 15,200 authorized repair people in the country have gone through some kind of security check before they go into people's homes?
That's what our members have told us, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative LaBeouf.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So actually, I just want to draw your attention to Section 3 of the bill, which discusses about essentially the diagnostic repair, about not having to continually pay for a subscription service. I'm not as familiar with the specific industries that you represent, but I know in other industries that aren't covered in this bill, that has been the largest complaint from the independent repair shops, is that they're almost the manufacturers can raise the prices or maintain that subscription in a way that essentially is an unburdensome cost of doing business. And I think this gets a little bit to also what Representative Dome was touching upon. But can you maybe talk about, in your industry specific, what is that contractual relationship that these authorized dealers have with your particular products that you represent? It could go to anyone.
As a trade association, I don't know what the specific requirements are that every manufacturer would have with their authorized repair.
Do you have an example of, for example, AT&T? If I was to be an authorized AT&T repair person, would I have to be paying a certain annual subscription service to be able to repair those cell phones?
I don't know the answer, I'm sorry.
Okay.
If you could track down the answer for the representative, that'd be helpful.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Any other members? All right, I got one. Mr. Johnson, because we're going to try to stay with gaming devices for the sake of ease. Obviously, I think most of us here are either familiar or played a video game device, and I do understand what you talk about, trade secrets, proprietary information regarding electronics and the firmware. I suppose the question is, as part of, let's say, building a PS3 or PS4, does every device in the system, for example, the fan, right, that keeps it cool, that is not a proprietary piece of equipment for Sony? That's something they buy from a third party, or is that part of the entire proprietary information inside the PlayStation?
I understand your question, and I am unable to answer it. I am not sure. I don't know how technically those consoles are made down to the specific part level. They might have had a fan specifically designed for the wattage and the size of that console and for the memory hard drive within there. There might be a smaller fan for a smaller, older system. I'm just unsure. I can certainly find that out for you. It may or may not be proprietary. I'm just unable to answer that right now for you.
Thank you. We get the information for us, because what I'm trying to get at is that the device in itself, while I do understand certain trade secrets in there, but it's obviously not 100%, well, maybe it could be, largely custom made in it. For example, same thing, the washer dryer example, not two washer dryers are created identically. There has to be some parts they have to pay for to a third party group to get a license to use inside their products. And some obviously are a patent still valid, and some are patent expired. So that's what kind of my curious question is, because the device in itself is not solely made of one part that the manufacturer creates. Anyone wants to chime in?
And I think how we would answer that is that we are looking at it in the context of the electronic components and how the firmware and the software interact with the other parts of the appliance. And so that would be the key determinant. And it's possible that not all parts are intricately interwoven with the firmware and the software. If they are, then I think the question is that yes, it has some bearing, but certainly I think going on a little bit of what Mr. Johnson was saying is, all of our manufacturers, my members' manufacturers, work with suppliers, and so they have their supplier networks who they have contracted with to make sure that they're putting that product and manufacturing that product to the best of its operability. And so I think it's just a question. I think it would be product by product, and frankly for us.
Thank you for your time. We could provide that information to the committee down the road. Appreciate it. Thanks. Anyone else? There being none, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next on my list is Robin Ingenthron from Good Point Recycling of Brockton. Did you push the button? Push the button.
Okay. Used to work at Massachusetts DEP, last testified here about 22 years ago. I moved to Vermont, started a company doing repair and reuse of electronics. I've opened a new plant in Brockton, Massachusetts. We've got about 30 employees. I wanted to provide some history on the context of this. The industry arguments you just heard versus the right to repair are pretty much the same ones that I studied in high school that were made against the Mag-Moss Warranty Act of 1975. People were concerned about warranties, and the manufacturers were saying, if you get into this, there's so much legal mumbo-jumbo, you'll never get out of it. The government cannot police this thing. But Magnuson-Moss Act never did take the FTC into the weeds because it mostly works as the brakes on the OEM attorneys. Once you pass a law about warranties, their attorneys will stop the creativity and say, whoa, that could get us in trouble. And that's the way we have to look at the right to repair. It's insurance against the future. I'm not that concerned about the testimony that I've heard from either the manufacturers or do-it-yourself repair people. I'm worried about what's going to be possible to do in planned obsolescence 5 years from now. It is going to be possible to make my employees, when they take a power cord that still works and sell it online for somebody that's missing a power cord, it will be possible to make power cords individually work on individual computers so that it would absolutely kill the repair market. And finally, I just want to say that if the bill is seen as being future insurance, like the Warranty Act, against things that might occur in the future, that if you look the way the FTC manages warranty claims, it's almost all done by mediation. They're never get into these lawsuits that everybody's telling you are going to happen. And these bills should be seen as putting the brakes. If I'm wrong and the other proponents of the right to repair are wrong, manufacturers can always lease the device. I can't define planned obsolescence, but I know it when I see it. And that's what we have to give the FTC and regulators in the Commerce Department as a tool for what might happen in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? There being none, thank you very much for your time. Mr. Henry Baker, owner of a repair shop.
Now I'm live. Good afternoon. My name's Henry Baker. I own a repair store. It's an iPhone repair store on Main Street in Walpole. I've been in business now for 3 years. Over those 3 years, I've probably had at least 1,500 customers. And last December, or December 2017, about closing time, I had a family come in with some iPhone 7s that needed charge port replacements. The phones were children's phones that were damaged by just a bad charge cord they got from a gas station. They came in at almost closing time, so I wasn't able to do it then, but I held the phones to return to them, a couple of days later. So after we closed up, I got the bright idea, and I took that phone to the Apple store down the street, and I asked them to repair the charge cord connection that was on the phone. And Apple told me the phone was dead. They don't fix the charge cords because the charge cord is a cord that is directly attached to the motherboard and it cannot be separated. So the $700 phone was no good. This is a repair that I routinely do every day. I charge $60 and I get it done in an hour. I saw a YouTube video earlier, maybe a couple of days before. I think it was Louis Rossman out of New York who posts a lot of these videos, saying that Apple doesn't repair these things and they declare the phone's dead. I didn't believe that, so I had a phone, I had an opportunity, and I wanted to see what my customers were experiencing or what they could experience at Apple. Routinely, I also see phones on a regular basis. Now, the interesting thing is when I was at the Apple store, I did make a point of meeting, went through several people. I got to a person who was the manager, and it was the manager who told me the phone could not be repaired. So it was somebody that had some relevance in the store. Also, I routinely see customers who will come in with phones, and when I see a phone where the water indicators are red, or if I see signs of staining on panels in the phone, typically Apple phones, where there's a little bit of staining, they have these bright panels that cover the electronics connectors. So if any water gets in there, you're going to see a stain on it. So I routinely ask them, did you go to Apple with this? And they'll tell me they did. And I say, why are you here? And they say, well, Apple told me my phone was dead and they wouldn't repair it because simply there were signs that water got in the phone. But the phone is fully operational. But this is, once again, something we do check that phone out to make sure it will work before we go to do a repair on it, but routinely these phones work. So I guess all I'm saying is there is a need for repair, and we fulfill that need, okay? And there is a situation where rather large companies, who I hold in considerable esteem and really like a lot, still they have practices that are a little unusual. I would just never would think of telling my people to tell people that this you paid $700 for can't be fixed when it can be easily fixed. Routinely, that person's being told they got to buy another phone. It isn't so bad with Apple. They usually have a replacement program. So usually when they tell you that, they'll tell you they'll replace it. They'll give you a replacement phone, which is a used phone. and you have to give them your phone and $300, and they'll give you a replacement phone. So that repair that runs for $50 or $60, Apple effectively has made that a $300 proposition. So once again, the guys who are doing repairs on the street are adding, they're giving considerable value to the public, and they are protecting the public from corporations that sometimes just aren't looking out for their customers. Okay, so that's my statement. We go with it?
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions?
Thank you.
Senator Feeney has a question for you. Hold on.
Sure. 1 second. Thank you, Mr. Baker, for coming in. You said your shop's in Walpole?
Yeah, it is, and I recognize you.
We should have carpooled here today.
Yeah.
How long have you been in business, did you say?
I've been in business on Main Street for 3 years, doing the cell phone repair.
Okay. And strictly cell phones you do? Small electronics?
Yeah, it's pretty, well, cell phones and iPads.
Okay. So I appreciated your story about going to the Apple store just to see how it went through. We know, I think, and we're hearing a lot of testimony today about how this bill would benefit consumers. If this was codified into Massachusetts law, how would it affect you as an independent shop? What could you do if we do adopt this bill that you can't do currently, or would it just would it bring more customers in, or is this strictly consumer driven in your
Well, the real issue is that Apple over the years with the 6S, they introduced a trick where if you, when you did a repair on that phone, they did something where I believe if you broke the home button, the next installation of the operating system would brick the phone. So effectively, they turned the phone into a brick. You just lost $650. Because you brought it to another store, they did the repair, and in the software, they recognized the fact that there was a foreign device on there. They turned the phone into nothing, but the fact is that attempt to shut down the repair business was ended very quickly because a lot of lawyers have cell phones, and they were hit with so many class action suits, and so many suits came at them. The next release of the operating system opened those phones up again. So, the need for repair is very much needed on the cell phone side because it's very easy for them through software to identify parts. Most of these parts do have IMEI numbers. They do have ways of trapping where eventually they'll shut it down and put us all out of business, and it won't take much. And at that point, the consumer loses out because now all of a sudden, nothing will be repairable, or at least they could go to that point. Right now, they do repair glass, but from my understanding, the podcast that I've seen, I don't know this for certain, but I think you can see it on, some of the podcasts that are out there. iPad Rehab out of New York recently has interviewed a number of people coming to them. And these people are saying that they've gone to Apple-authorized stores, and Apple-authorized stores are not authorized to do any repairs. So they've got this tag out, they're authorized, but they don't allow them to do repairs.
Interesting. Okay. And one more question. You see people that come into your store, their phone is bricked, or maybe there's something that you can't repair. I don't know what the percentage is on, people that come into your store that there's nothing you can do anything for. So number one, are there a lot of cases where they're bringing in their phone and you just can't repair it? Number two.
Okay. So, anyways, if I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You can answer that part. And I just have follow-up.
If they bring, now we're getting down to business practices, but the bottom line is we are very susceptible to the market in general without any laws whatsoever. Yeah. Because the one issue is we've got Yelp out there, we've got Google My Business out there, we've got all these reporting sites. The minute I screw up, somebody's on that site saying I was a bad guy.
Right.
Whenever I get dinged, generally speaking, it's just a character who doesn't want to pay for something, but generally speaking, I have to deal with it. I either have to get back to him, try to work it out, or do something there. So, let's get rid of that guy. So on my side and on our side, if we mess up and we have a healthy phone, that gets damaged, I just buy the phone off them. And if we have a situation, generally speaking, also, I only do a certain number of repairs. 90% of my business is screen replacements.
Okay.
Okay. Another 5% might be charge ports. Another 2% might be home buttons, you know?
No,
So it's a very limited thing. I'm not into micro soldering, although I might get into that.
That's fine. No, I understand, and trust me, if you weren't good at the job, then you wouldn't be able to be in business. I think.
Oh, yeah, and I turn people away, and I do. Like, let's say a phone came in the other day.
Right.
It was absolutely crushed.
Yeah.
It was a traffic coordinator, a woman in the street in front of a school drops a phone in the street, didn't realize it. Then she sees the phone's been there. It's been run over 5 times. It looked like it was ground into the dirt. She brings it into me. I said, yeah, well, let's check it out. Take the screen off, pop a new screen on, comes right up. Everything's working fine.
Yeah.
But normally what we do is throw a screen on it. First of all, we do some diagnostics, and if it doesn't look it's going to take the screen, then we just stop the whole thing, give it to them, give them their money back.
All right, so I don't want to take up all the time for my committee members here.
Just because he's a constituent.
No, I understand you.
Silly business practice.
Yeah, no. My question is my last question. If somebody does come in and they have you're not a magician, you're a repair tech, and they come in with something that's crushed or a phone that just is no longer operable, what do they generally do with that? Do you take that and recycle it for them? Do they throw it in the trash? Do they keep it around? I'm just trying to think downstream kind of what people are doing
I
with their
point them to
electronics.
eBay, and I tell them, because sometimes I had a guy in yesterday with 4 or 5 phones he was trying to sell me. I just told him, go to eBay. You can sell them. Broken X's are worth $150 for the parts. Broken 7s, you can get $50 for them. Sometimes with Apple, you can go to Apple, and you can, if the screen's not crushed, you can go to Apple and get some money on a when you go to buy a new phone. So, so they still have value. I don't trade in phones. I don't buy phones. I don't buy parts. I buy my parts in the parts distributors, and that's it. I don't want to be taking parts out of dead phones. I don't know what the parts went through. The parts are cheap enough.
Right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions?
Thank you.
There being none. As you can tell, the chair gives some flexibility regarding the time limit. But just let people know, look at us, because I'm going to start doing this a little bit once you hit time limit to let people know you should try to wrap up. My polite way of doing this as opposed to just gabbling you. Next up is Adam Fullerton from Boston Microsoldering.
Told to turn my mic on before I came up. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, ranking members and co-chairs. My name is Adam Fullerton. I was born in Holyoke, grew up in Sudbury, and I've been professionally repairing small electronics in Boston for the last 13 years. Currently, I'm the operations manager for Cell Phone Repair Boston. We own and operate the 2 largest walk-in repair shops in Boston. Earlier this summer, I also started a project called Boston Microsoldering, where we drive around the state and purchase either defective, water-damaged electronics. We will document and record the repairing of these devices with the goal of educating both hobbyists and small businesses to repair devices that otherwise might be beyond their current capability. We then sell these refurbished devices to pay for the video equipment and more educational content. So I'm actually not really here today to talk about my professional experience. I'm here to talk about my mother-in-law, strangely enough. So I met my wife's family earlier this year. My mother-in-law had just gotten off of a long vacation. It was her first time to Taiwan. She then came to Boston for the first time. She met her granddaughter for the first time. She had a wonderful summer, save for her experience with the manufacturer of her phone. So during one of her trips, her cell phone, an iPhone 6, had unfortunately taken a dunk in the ocean, saltwater damaged, and she did what most consumers do. They go to the manufacturer, the first service point, the most obvious service point, to try to get this device repaired. She had taken hundreds, if not thousands, of photos while she was in Taiwan. This is expensive trip she spent thousands of dollars on. She had just met her granddaughter and taken hundreds more pictures of my daughter. And after getting a little bit of water on her phone, it was inoperable. So she initially actually went to an Apple store in Shanghai, China, then to the Apple store on Boylston Street, a mile from here in Boston, and was promptly told by sales reps and managers that her device was dead and could not be repaired. Strangely enough, the device was still charging. You could plug it in, you could hear the charging indicator blip, but there was nothing on the display. Now, she was given essentially one option at both Apple stores that she visited. Your device cannot be repaired. You can pay $299 for a replacement. Replacement of a device which in 2019 is worth less than $200. But my mother-in-law really wasn't interested in replacing a several-year-old device. She could buy a new one. Obviously, Apple wanted to sell her an iPhone 8, an iPhone 10, but she needed her data. She wanted pictures of my one-day-old daughter. She wanted her vacation photos. Thankfully for her, she did not take no as an answer. She brought the phone to me. A little bit more experience in these matters. And long story short, we were able to repair that device with a $5 chip that controlled touch, a $10 chip that supplied power to the screen. That got the device to power on with a poorly working screen. We then paid $14 more to purchase another screen. So I was able to get the parts in this case, but not from Apple. Going to Apple, we can't the board level components that allow us to do data recovery, whether it's for the customers that I've dealt with for the last decade or even members of my own family. And even if we are able to get these components, they come from overseas. I had to purchase two parts, one from Hong Kong, one from Shenzhen, China, wait a couple weeks for them to come in so that I could fix my mother-in-law's phone in my kitchen. And beyond that, it would have been impossible to do these repairs if not for documentation that leaked on the internet. I cannot go to Apple and request a wiring diagram, request a schematic. And again, I wasn't looking for source code, for firmware, for cryptographic keys. I needed a map of the motherboard to know where the power supply goes, to figure out if there's a blown fuse and replace it. And only because somebody in Apple's supply chain leaked this information on the internet, manufacturer refused to provide it, we were able to repair it, and thankfully we got her photos back. But if the manufacturers had their way, all of this information that's required for repair would be considered proprietary, and it would be impossible to recover data off of phones like this. Thank you very much for your time, and also Chair Chan, if the ESA is unable to answer questions.
So I'm here to speak in favor of Senate 107. I've been asked to file this and support this. A lot of my constituents have called and supported this in my business community as well. This is relative to the digital right to repair. This bill will expand consumer choices in a current non-competitive market and subsequently save both the consumer and with time and money in digital products. We did remove the medical part of this because public safety is of the utmost importance. But this right to repair legislation reduces costs of repairs for end users by creating more competition in the marketplace and eliminates long waiting periods. And of course, I'm not technologically astute, so I just had to purchase a new phone because my other phone broke, and it would have taken me months on end to send it to a manufacturer and get it back and be repaired. So I had to break down and spend some good hard-earned money to buy a new phone. But I'm learning how to use it too because I'm not technologically astute. But I do just ask you to support this. And as I mentioned, for safety concerns, this bill does not apply to medical equipment.
Thank you, Senator. And if your phone is still broken, there's about 200 people in the room. I think they can probably help you out, including the one right behind you.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of young people that have much more technological information than I do. So,
thank you, Senator. I just want to thank you for bringing this to my attention, for being a champion in the bill. And I know we've discussed this over the last couple of months in preparation for the hearing. So thank you for filing it and for having the discussion with me and my colleagues on it. It means a lot.
Thank you, Senator, for your testimony. Any questions? Representative McKenna.
Yeah, real briefly, Senator, you mentioned not applicable to medical equipment. I know that there had been 3 standards of certification, and there was some previous editions that had some exemptions, but not all. Does this version have all medical equipment exempt?
Yeah, and obviously, because that's a whole public safety concern, that was taken out of the bill. Thank you. And I'm in the middle of a public service hearing as well. I'm chairing, so I snuck out. But if anybody needs to contact me, my office is always open.
We can keep you here longer if you don't want to go back.
I've got to go back. There's important retirement legislation we're working on.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you to the committee for your time.
Next up is Valentin, I'm going to murder this name, Verustoraru from Boston Mobile iPhone Repairs. Well, you don't have to bring your sign, but that's okay.